Hey guys, it's Tara. Welcome to my channel. So today my video is going to be in honor of Halloween and spooky season. So I'm going to be doing a review of the ZAK Bagans Haunted Museum here in downtown Vegas. This is going to be a two-part video of the actual museum itself and then what happened to me afterward when I left the museum, because that is a whole story within itself. Crazy story. So the museum was it used to be a house way back in the day. The Wengert family built it in 1938, and they lived in the house up until the 1970s, where I think at that point it was like owned by the city, and Jenna Jameson lived in this house at some point and had some weird experiences, like people have died in this house. And then since then, ZAK Bagans from Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel has bought the house and made it into a museum of all things paranormal, haunted, ghosts, crime, murder. Like, he's just completely redone the house into this really cool museum. So I'm not filming at the museum because I can't. You can't film inside of the museum. So I'm doing this review from my house. But let's get into the story and my experience at the museum. So I went to this museum by myself. I went for my birthday. I really wanted to go. I love like ghosts and paranormal things, and I just really been wanting to go to the museum. So I'm like, for my birthday, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going by myself, like it's cool. And even though I like went to the museum by myself, they put you in groups once you're at the museum. So even though I went by myself, I went into the house with like a group of 9 other people. So there were like 10 of us in my group. So you're not really by yourself on the tour. The tour lasts, they say it lasts about an hour and a half, but our tour was like 2 hours long. It got like stretched out, which was really cool because I feel like we really got the full experience of the house. Everything was like explained to us, so that was cool. And the tickets are $48 for a general ticket and $76 for a RIP ticket. And then if you're a local, both of these tickets are discounted. So this is the RIP ticket, and with this you get certain things. So you get this cool haunted museum t-shirt, and then you also get access to certain rooms in the house that not everyone else will get access to. I think there's about like 30 rooms total in the house, and 6 of them are only accessible to people who have this. So when I originally bought my ticket, I bought the normal general admission ticket, but once you get in there, they convinced me and like everyone else in my group that didn't have RIP, we all ended up getting the RIP pass because we didn't want to miss out on everything. And then half the group is doing this, half the group is doing that. So I recommend getting this, because you only have access to some of the funner rooms like the basement and the crawl space with this pass. So just get the pass so you can do everything, because you're gonna want to go back after and get this one if you don't do it the first time around. Okay, so like I said, like the way they do it is you're going in groups with groups of people. So my group had about 10 people. And this house had all different kinds of things, y'all. So when you first get into the house, the first room they take you into is like this room with animatronics. And there's like different like old like stuff moving around, and like one of those Voltar machines in there, and like everything's like moving. So when you're looking around, everything's making like creaky old noises. So they get you immediately because that room was just so creepy. And then within that room, they have a room filled with dolls that you can only access with the RIP pass. So if you have like a thing with dolls and like weird toys, like that's how they started it. So they're coming at you hard when you start. Okay, and then then they have like different theme rooms in the house. Like one of the rooms had like skeletal remains. One of the rooms had like stuff from like different serial killers like Richard Ramirez, Gacy, Dahmer, Charles Manson. Like it had items that they used to kill people. It had some of their items in it. It had like some of their blood in it. And then there was a room with Hollywood memorabilia, and that room had like the engine of the car that James Dean died in, that's supposedly haunted. It had like the chair that Michael Jackson died in. It had like all different type of like Hollywood themed death stuff. They had the bed from the Bunny Ranch, and the Bunny Ranch is a brothel here in Nevada that's still open today. And they had the bed that the owner actually passed away on that was inside of this brothel. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, there used to be a show called Cat House on HBO, and it would like document what would happen and how the girls' lives were at this brothel. But anyway, so they had that. They had like taxidermy animals. They had a room. They had the basement room, which you need this to get into, and that room was really creepy. So supposedly, like back in the day, people were doing like satanic rituals in the basement, and this was confirmed by Jenna Jameson. She said like when her and her brother were younger, they used to like go down there and see people doing like freaky stuff in the basement. So you have access to go into the basement. There's like a pentagram on the floor, and Bela Lugosi's like haunted mirrors down there, and they have a voice box. That was super creepy. What else did they have? They kind of had a little bit of everything in this museum. Like at one point there was a guy putting hooks in his body. There was like an actual haunted house within the haunted house, like a clown themed haunted house with like neon lights and animatronics and stuff like coming out at you. They had like a haunted house in the haunted house. And then what else did they have? They had the Dybbuk box, which is supposedly like the most haunted item in the world. And I didn't feel anything when I went in that room. I didn't feel like, I don't know, for that to be like the most haunted item, I felt okay, but it might have been because it was like behind a glass case and it had like salt around it, and it was like not accessible. You couldn't get like close to it. But what freaked me out about that room was that there was like an altar in that room where people were putting like people's licenses, jewelry, change, like personal items of people. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what are people trying to do? Like curse people? Like that was freaky to me, because I believe in like people like cursing people and doing weird stuff. So I was like, that's freaky that someone would come here and put someone's personal item in the room with this evil spirit, supposedly. So that was freaky. The Dybbuk box itself was okay, but there's a hilarious video of Post Malone going to this museum and him touching the Dybbuk box and getting freaked the hell out. And then like a bunch of bad stuff happens to him after. That stuff wasn't funny because like he almost like died in a car accident and everything, like after visiting this museum. And I had a crazy experience too. So I don't know if I put something in my head going to this museum, but this museum definitely has like bad energy and bad juju. Like you can feel the thickness in the air of like heaviness or whatever. So they had that. They had a room. They had like calmer rooms. Like they had a room on the Titanic and Natalie Wood. They had a room on the Demon House. They had the chair that from the Conjuring movie. The chair that they did The Exorcist in, the actual Exorcist. They had that chair in the house, and they said a lot of people get like sick, like going near the chair. And all of it was like super fascinating, super cool. So there were like 2 rooms in the house that got me. And one of them you would never think. They had Dr. Kevorkian's artwork in one of the rooms, and then they had his death van in another one of the rooms. So where he used to like do the assisted suicides, they had the entire van in one of the rooms. And before you get into that room, they put you into this really tiny room with all of his artwork. I don't know why, you guys, like, you might be thinking like, girl, out of all the rooms, all the serial killers, all the stuff, like, that's the room that got you, but that's the room that got me. Like, his artwork is creepy as hell. And when I went into that room, I immediately felt my body swaying from side to side. And I like caught myself and I'm like, Tara, stop, what are you doing? And then I started swaying again. I realized I wasn't like controlling it. Like, I was literally just swaying in this room, and I'm telling you, I could feel a presence in that room, in that Dr. Kevorkian room, like nowhere else in the house. That room got me. And then the worst room in the house was one of the rooms on the second floor. So on the second floor, they had the Dybbuk box. They had the room with this doll called Peggy that you have to like say hi and bye to her when you like go in and you leave the room. And if you look at her, she can like cause you heart attacks if you're not like respectful to her or whatever. But the third room upstairs, I think it was based on the Kansas City murders. That room was disturbing. That was the most disturbing room in the house for me. Like, not even the basement touched that room for me. There were like graphic pictures in that room. There was a bed in that room. Like, you could feel the evil in that room. They had pictures of like pretty much people being like, you know, tortured in that room, and like their facial expressions, like you're seeing the actual victims, and you're seeing like the place that they passed, like their bed that they passed on is in that room. So to me, that was the absolute hands down worst room in the house. That had the worst feeling. Like, as soon as you went in there, it was just like, whew, like, oof, you know? Oh, that was like the worst room. And what else did they have? They had the cauldron that Ed Gaines used when he like killed those two women, and he like, you know, hung their body in his shed or whatever. They had like the cauldron where the blood was like coming into. They had all types of like super fascinating stuff in the house. Just very creepy, eerie, like there's a lot of that. And then at the very end of the tour, you go through a gift shop type room where you could like buy different things, buy like souvenirs from the tour itself. Well, that was cool. And then that's where we get to pick up like our shirts. But the house is creepy, y'all. And as much as I'm sitting here saying it was so cool and I recommend it, be careful. Like, if you decide to go to this museum, let me get close so we can talk about this. If you decide to go to this museum, like, you need to protect your energy. Do not touch anything in this museum. Do not talk to anything in this museum. Do not antagonize anything in this museum. Like, the energy in this museum, it's heavy and it's bad. And if you mess with stuff like that, like, that energy will follow you, and it'll follow you home, because I feel like that's what ended up happening to me once I left this museum, because I had a experience after I left, and like a month after going to this museum, I felt weird. Like, something didn't feel right. After everything that I experienced, I was like, something ain't right. So I just want to tell you, like, if you do decide to go, it's a really, really cool museum. The tour was great, but just protect your energy and just don't do anything crazy in there. Just be respectful. That's all I'm gonna say. And yeah, so that was the museum. Super cool, fun thing to do for Halloween. They have another portion of the museum where you can go in with just flashlights and do a night tour, and I think it's only you and like 19 other people can go, and you just get flashlights and you can explore the house in pitch black. So that's another thing. I kind of want to do that, but then I'm like, after what happened to me, I'm like, girl, don't go back there. So I don't know if I'm gonna go back, but it does sound really cool. And so the next part of this video is me explaining what happened to me after I left the museum. So stay tuned if you want to hear the story about that. Where things got real for me. So by the time I'm leaving the museum, it's starting to get dark. It wasn't completely dark yet, but it was starting to get dark. Now, I'm on edge at this point. I've been in this creepy museum with this dark energy, and even before I got to the museum, like, things were a little sketch. So I had gone to the Burlesque Museum before I went to the ZAK Bagans Museum, and I decided to walk from the Burlesque Museum to the ZAK Bagans Museum because I didn't know if the ZAK Bagans Museum was gonna have parking. They do have parking, by the way. But I was like, let me just walk. It's a nice day. I don't know if I'm gonna find parking again. I'm just gonna walk. On my way to the museum, I got solicited twice, okay? I'm dressed normal. I have no makeup on. Like, I'm looking regular. And I had a car pull up and like say some funny stuff to me, and I was like, no. Okay, drove off. And then I had another guy pull up, and he like stopped his car next to me and was like, don't you want to have a good time? Get in my car. And I'm like, no, thank you, sir. And then he tried again. He was like, no, you should come with me, just get in the back seat. And I'm like, no, like, what the hell? If I was about that life and that was my job and what I was doing, I'd be enthusiastic to get in this car with you right now, right? I'd be walking up like, okay, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to be bothered, sir. Leave me alone. So I was already on edge walking through downtown Vegas, because downtown Vegas can be kind of sketchy, and being a woman walking by myself, people, they're gonna say stuff, they're gonna try to do stuff. It's like, and I have more like stories on that in Vegas, and like prostitution and being solicited and being a woman out here by yourself, but that's like a whole nother video that I'm gonna talk about, because that's an issue out here as well. But so I'm already on edge. Now I have to walk back to my car after that happened, before I got to the museum, and then after being in this creep museum, I'm by myself. It's about to be dark, so I'm already like panicked. All right. So I'm walking back to my car, kind of sleepwalking. I come across a crow on the ground. I'm not making this up. I come across a crow. The crow's head was backwards, y'all. So the body was going this way, the head was going this way. And all I could think is, an animal didn't do that. Animals don't do that. They don't screw your head on backwards. They don't like rip your head like that. So I'm panicked. I'm like, who would do that? Like, what person would just rip a bird's head back like that? I don't know if the bird was hit. I don't know, but it was a black crow. And everyone knows seeing like birds or dead animals is an omen. So in my culture, seeing a dead animal can mean two things. It either means the typical omen, like a warning, like something bad is gonna happen. But then there's another meaning that's kind of like a good meaning. So like if you see like an animal dead on the street, it means that that animal died in your place. So that whatever happened to that animal was supposed to happen to you, but that animal like sacrificed themselves for you. So, but at that time, I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm like, this is a bad omen. This is no good. Like, I need to get the hell up out of here. Well, what the hell? So at this point, I'm like sprinting down the street trying to get to my car, like running. Like if you were in downtown Vegas this day, all you would see is blonde hair and just like. So I finally got to my car, and I'm panicked at this point. Like I'm panicked, y'all. I'm looking in the back seat. I'm looking around me. I feel like something is watching me. I feel like something is following me. Like this whole time, I felt like bad energy following me. And I'm not, like I'm telling you guys, I'm not an easily scared person. Like, I am used to stuff like this. So for me to be this freaking freaked out, it wasn't nothing. So, okay. All right, cool. So that happened. I went home. I'm feeling on edge. All right, let me just sleep it off, calm down a little bit. All right, cool. All right, so next day, right? My birthday was coming up. So I think I had gone to the museum on Tuesday. My birthday was on Thursday. And I had decided to do a staycation in Vegas. I'm not going to tell you guys where it was. I'm not going to tell you the hotel. I don't want no smoke with the hotel. I don't want no smoke with the people that I saw. I don't want no smoke with the family. I don't want no smoke with nobody. So I'm not going to tell you guys where I was. But I decided to do a staycation on my birthday. So I was going to check in Wednesday, hang out Thursday for my birthday, blah, blah, blah. So at this point, like, I've calmed down. Like, I'm like, you're overreacting. Like, the museum was cool. Like, let it go. It's your birthday. Let's get back into good spirits, good energy, right? Okay, check into the hotel. Where the hotel is, it's located on water, right? And there's kind of like a village, like where the hotel is. So all day I was like out in the village, walking around, doing different things, going like to restaurants, blah, 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 right? Okay, cool. So I decided that the next morning I was gonna wake up at 5:50 a.m. to get a shot of the sunrise, because where I was staying at the hotel kind of has like a bridge part to it over the water, and then they have rooms on that bridge part. So I had a room on that bridge with a balcony. So I was like, it'd be really dope if I, got up early in the morning and I could get like a really nice shot of the sun coming up over the lake. So, did that. Got up at 5:50. I'm sitting out the balcony. I have my camera out. I'm ready to record. All of a sudden, I hear, "Hey, hey!" Like, this guy is screaming downstairs, and I'm on my balcony. I can see him on the side, and he's like yelling, "Hey!" But he's not like yelling to me. And then I noticed, like, the way that the hotel is like there's a bridge that goes over the water. And on that first main level of the bridge, it's a walkway. So you can walk the entire bridge. They have like weddings over there. They do like events over there. And then on the second floor of that bridge, they have rooms. The second, third, fourth floor, they have rooms spanning over the bridge, right? So there's a guy on the main level where like underneath the bridge where the water part is, and then there's a guy standing on the second level. He's that guy that was on the first level that was yelling. He's yelling to that guy, and I'm like, why is he like, this guy is yelling, and this place is quiet. It's completely quiet. I'm like, why is he yelling so loud? Like, he's gonna wake everybody up. So the guy, the guy ends up yelling, "There's a body down here." And I'm like, I know I hear this right. Like, it is too early for this. No way, Jose. So the guy that's on the second floor runs down to where that first guy is. And I can't really see what's happening because, remember, I'm just on my balcony. But whatever they're looking at is underneath the bridge. It's underneath the balcony. I can't physically see it. So, but I see the second guy come out from underneath the bridge. And this guy's like pale. And he's like freaked out, and he's like, "Yo, that person's gone. Like, that's it. They're gone." And now I'm like, "Wait, what?" So I'm like, "There's no way that this is happening right now. They just found a body down there." And I'm like, "Wait a second. So about 10 minutes after that, I see cops, detectives come down. They rope off the area. And I'm like, damn, like, someone really did just pass, because, if that person was alive or needed, or, could be resuscitated, there'd be an ambulance here, there'd be a stretcher, they'd be rolling someone else. I'm like, oh my gosh, someone just passed, like, right underneath me. Like, what's going on? So now I'm freaked out, right? So I go down to the hotel lobby. Mind you, it's still early. Like, no one else at the hotel knows this is happening. no one like in that village town knows what's happening. The whole village area was completely empty in the morning. It was, like I said, I was up at 5:50 a.m. So no one else knows what's happening. I go to the front desk and I'm like, excuse me, but um, is there a deceased person here at the hotel? And the girl was kind of like I could tell that she didn't want to like tell me what was going on. But I was like, I heard the guy yelling outside and I saw the cops. So, and she's like, yeah, like they found a body this morning. And I was like, so what happened? Like, what's going on? And she's like, I can't really tell you anything right now. Da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm staying at your hotel. You're not gonna tell me what's going on. Like, do I need to be worried for my life? And she's like, no, they don't think like any suspicious activity was involved. Blah blah blah. But, but something weird had happened to me the night before. So she was like, and I was explaining to her like what had happened, and she's like, you should probably tell the cops what you just told me, because that is a little bit sketchy. So let's rewind. Now this is where things get even more weird. So let's rewind to the night before. Okay, so the night before. So remember I told you guys that I was walking around the village area all day. So I was walking around there all day. I walked where they found the body. I had walked there earlier. Like I have footage of me walking underneath this bridge. I had walked the whole grounds of the hotel in the village. So I had decided to go eat at this restaurant that's right next to the hotel, probably 20 feet from where the body was found the night before. I'm by myself. Remember, I'm by myself. So I went to go eat, and I'm there by myself. I'm eating. This guy shows up at the restaurant, and he's there by himself as well. And he sits like across from where I'm sitting, so he's facing me, but not like close to me, but he's facing me, right? So the guy, you know, he seemed like a normal, friendly guy, but he kept staring at me. Like every time I would look up, this guy was looking at me, and I'm like, okay, like it was like clockwork. Like I looked up for something, there he was, freaking staring at me, and I'm like, that's really creepy, but okay. So he was talking to the waitress at one point, and he was telling her, he's like, you know, I went to all my favorites today. I did all my favorite things. I went to my favorite bar earlier. Now I'm at my favorite restaurant on the lake. So he was telling her that, and I was like, oh, you know, good for him, like getting out, doing his thing. And at one point, he looked at me like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. He didn't say anything to me. He didn't end up saying anything to me. He did it a couple times, like he was like he wanted to say something, but he never ended up saying anything to me. So okay, whatever. So I go to leave the restaurant. I'm facing him. He's facing me. For me to get back to the hotel, I need to walk behind him, right? So I leave the restaurant and I start walking, and I can feel his eyes on me. Like this man turned. You would have to turn your entire body around to watch me leave this restaurant. And he did just that. Like I could feel him turning his entire body to like watch me walk away. And at this point I'm like, that's really like weird. But as I was walking like further, I turned around to see like if he was still watching me, and he had turned around. So I was like, okay, like maybe I'm like thinking too much. Like, just relax. Maybe you're freaking thinking too much, man. So, so the area that the hotel is in is there's not a lot going on. Like after 9 o'clock at night, everything pretty much shuts down. So everything becomes like pitch black. But I wanted to go for a walk on the bridge before I went back to my room. So everything in that area is pitch black but the bridge. The bridge is lit up. Like underneath walking the bridge is lit up. So I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. Like it's lit up. So I was like, I want to take like a walk on the bridge at night. I thought it was nice. It was a nice night. So I went and I took a walk. mind you, this is very close to where the restaurant is. I could still see the restaurant from the bridge. So I go to take a walk, and there's areas of the bridge that are pitch black. Like the main area that you're walking on the bridge is lit, but if you go out to where the water is, there's like the edge. There's like an edge that creeps over where the water is, but that area is pitch black. So over there, I was standing there for a little bit, like in the complete pitch black, but I was looking at the water. It was like gorgeous. Like where this place is really, really pretty. And all of a sudden, y'all, I get this feeling. This feeling came over me. This just horrible, horrible feeling. I had been good all day. I'd been walking around this beautiful village. I just ate bomb food, and this horrible feeling came over me and was like, "Go back to your room. You've had enough here. It's time to go. Go back to the room." So I was like, you know what? Let's not play around today. Let's not even play the games today. I'm gonna go back to my room. So I must have been on this bridge for maybe like 10 minutes before I just had this like overwhelmingly just like feeling of complete dread come over me. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to my room. Went back to my room. Couldn't sleep well that night. But okay, fast forward. Now it's the next day. Found out about the body. Found out about that. So because I had this like weird experience the night before with that guy, I ended up telling the cops like, hey, like there was a guy at the restaurant, like he was watching me. I don't know if what happened was murder. I don't know if it was someone unaliving themselves. I don't know if it was an accident and someone fell into the lake at this point, but I was like, I thought that I would tell you. And I just kept thinking about the guy. Like, I didn't think about him in a malicious way. I thought about him as if maybe he was going to unalive himself that night. And that's why he was saying, oh, I went to all my favorite places. I did all my favorite things. And I was like, what if he wanted to say something to me? Like, what if he wanted to talk to me? Maybe he was lonely. Maybe he had given up on life. So I was like feeling guilty. I'm like, what if, it's that guy? So the cop still wouldn't tell me anything. They were just like, yeah, like that's kind of weird. We'll take down your info, and if anything comes up, we'll be in touch with you. Like if we want to ask you any more questions. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. So while I was like after I had talked to the cops, I went down to where like they had found the body. Now the area is roped off, so you can't like walk up close to it or anything, but you can definitely see that there's a body lying there. And then there's just detectives all over the place. They had like a scuba diver over there, like in the water, like looking for stuff. And at some point, I'm talking to a maintenance guy that works in that village area, and he was like, yeah, he's like, this isn't the first time like someone has died here. Like there's been 2 drownings at this lake already. So he's like, I've witnessed like stuff like this before, but he's like, I don't know what's going on today. Like I don't know like what happened to this person. Blah blah blah. Okay. So I'm thinking, I keep having this feeling like it's that guy from the night before. So I keep feeling like, oh my God, it's that guy. Like something happened to that guy, right? Okay. So I'm like, it's my birthday, you guys. It's my freaking birthday today. I'm waking up to like this horrible tragedy. So I had like stuff planned to do all day, but I was like, at that point I felt horrible. Like I'm like, museum had me messed up for a whole day. I just gotten over it. Now this happened. Like I feel like something is telling me to just stay home. Like don't go anywhere. Don't do anything. Just stay home. So I was like, I'm just gonna pack my stuff up and I'm just gonna leave. Like I had like dinner planned and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm just not gonna be doing anything for my birthday this year. So I like pack my stuff up and I go to check out and I ask the girl, I'm like, so there's nothing like you can tell me, like you can't tell me like anything? And she's like, the only thing I can tell you is that it was a woman. And now I'm like, what? So now I'm even more panicked because the whole time I was thinking it was the guy unaliving himself. And now she's like, no, it was a woman. And I'm like, it was a woman? So was she attacked? Wasn't it, like, what happened? Like, no one's saying what happened. They will not tell me what happened. So now it's a woman. So I'm freaked out because, you guys, I was walking on top of this bridge. In the daytime, I was walking where the body physically was. I was walking that path where the body was. And at night, I was walking right on top of that bridge where they found the body. Like, I was there, y'all. So and then I just remember that feeling I had the night before, like that feeling of dread, and then finding out it was a woman. Like, I'm freaking panicked at this point. I'm like, all right, time to go. Like, I went home. I called my mom. I was like frantic on the phone with her. She's like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know. So it was like a horrible, it was like a really bad experience. I feel bad for like whoever it was, their family. Um, but the story doesn't quite end there. So about a month later, I went back to this area, not to stay at the hotel, but back to like the village area. They were having an event there. I end up running into the maintenance guy that I was talking to that day that was telling me about people drowning in that lake and everything. And I was like, hey, did you ever find out like what happened? Did you ever find out like, who it was? And he was like, yeah, I did. He's like, the family came and I talked to them. And he's like, it was a guy that shot himself. So what? So I don't know. So the hotel told me it was a woman. The maintenance guy told me it was a guy who shot himself underneath the bridge. I have no idea who was lying, who was telling the truth, what the actual story was. There was nothing in the news about it. I tried to check for like a few weeks. There was nothing that showed up, and that's kind of typical for Vegas. People die in hotels in Vegas all the time, y'all. And they just don't tell you guys because they don't want people to panic. They don't want it to affect tourism. So a lot of times they just clean up the body very quickly, and by the next day, that room is being checked out. So if someone dies in a hotel room, like they're like, move the body, do what you need to do, and let's check it out for the next day. Like they're very, they got it down to a science now because people die in Vegas a lot. People unalive themselves in Vegas a lot. Like there's a whole history to that. I went on like a crime and haunts tour out here and found out some really dark history about Vegas and like people like losing all their money and then just ending it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know what the real story ended up being. I don't know if the person was murdered, if they unalived themselves, if they um, accidentally fell into the water. I have no idea what really happened. I'm just thankful and grateful that I left when I did. I did not hear anything through the night. Like when I tell you my room is here and the body was here, I didn't hear anything. Like I didn't hear any gunshot or anything crazy in the night. I didn't hear any struggle. So I have no idea what happened to this day. I still don't know what happened, but it was just a crazy story because with me going to the museum, seeing the dead crow, having this feeling of dread and just being it was just not a good time. It put me like in a dark place for like a good month. I was like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. Like something weird is going on. So I don't know if it had anything to do with the ZAK Bagans Museum, but I will say that that museum has some dark entities in it, y'all. And if you don't want to listen to my story, go look up what happened to Post Malone after he went to that museum and just like the horrible, horrible luck this man had. But I just want to end this with saying, like stay safe out there, guys. Keep an alert for things. If your instinct is telling you something's not right, like listen to it. Just listen to it. You know what I mean? Like nothing is worth your life, your happiness, your peace. If it don't feel right, don't do it. Not saying not to go to the museum. I absolutely love the museum, but I do think that there's stuff in that museum that I do not want to mess with. And I mean, as you guys can see, I didn't even tell you about the room that I went into. I don't even want to talk about that room. The other room upstairs. I don't even want to talk about that room. Um, but just be careful, you know? Be careful with what you're doing. Be careful with what you're viewing, what you're adding to your life, the places that you're going, because energy exists everywhere, and there's good energy, there's bad energy, and energy can follow you, it can cling to you. So just make sure you keep your spirit positive, keep your being positive, and you know, have fun, have a good time. But that's what I want to leave this video on. It was a crazy story. It was like, you know, kind of hard to talk about like way back. Now I can talk about it and I'm like, whoa, that was freaking nuts. But at the time, it really, really, really freaked me out for a long time, especially living in Vegas by myself and doing a lot of things by myself. It like really freaked me out for a while. Um, but I hope you guys enjoyed this like review slash story time. Maybe I'll do more because I have a bunch of different crazy stories of things that have happened to me or in Vegas. So so maybe I'll do some more if you guys like this type of video. Stay safe out there, guys.